Sam stood outside the grand entrance of the hotel, his breath swirling in the chilly evening air. Towering marble columns framed the huge doors, and the soft glow of chandeliers behind the glass revealed a world of elegance he hadn't stepped into yet. Just moments ago, Andrea had looked him in the eye, her smile warm, yet her words were firm. "Wait here, Sam." He watched her disappear inside, her confident stride fading against the backdrop of velvet curtains and polished floors. Sam's heart raced. It wasn't just the hotel, it was what this moment represented. This was a chance not just for him, but for them. He gazed at the hotel staff bustling through the lobby, adjusting their ties and smoothing their uniforms with practiced perfection. They were all so polished, so professional. He couldn't help but feel small, like a loose thread on a perfect tapestry. Would they even look at him? Would they understand the weight of this moment for him? Outside, a soft rain began to fall, tapping against the concrete in a quiet rhythm. Sam pulled his coat tighter around him. He wondered what Andrea was doing, how she was greeting the staff. Was she charming them, laughing? He imagined her confidence shining bright, illuminating every corner of that grand lobby. A few moments passed, but it felt like hours. The air was thick with anticipation, the feel of the city buzzing just out of reach. Sam noticed a family of 5 walking toward the entrance, laughing and joking among themselves. They were dressed casually, and yet there was something infectious about their joy. Sam wished he could feel that lightness, that carefree attitude. He turned his focus back to the entrance, his heart pounding louder. Time passed, and still Andrea didn't return. Doubts began to creep in. What if she didn't come back? What if this was all a mistake? Maybe she didn't want him by her side in that world, a world of luxury and power. Deep down, he wanted to believe he belonged there too. Suddenly, the heavy doors swung open and Andrea stepped out, the glow behind her framing her like a scene from a movie. But she wasn't alone. The entire hotel staff was lined up behind her, their faces a mixture of surprise and admiration. She called out, her voice ringing clear. The staff members were watching, their eyes darting between her and him, curious about the scene unfolding. He took a hesitant step forward, but Andrea shook her head. She turned back to the staff, her demeanor shifting effortlessly from companion to leader. Their faces brightened, and one of the managers stepped forward, smiling wide, reaching out a hand. Caught off guard, Sam shook the manager's hand but felt his palms sweating. This was unreal. The staff was all watching him, each person making their own silent assessments. Did he measure up? As he looked around, he couldn't help but notice how they looked at Andrea too. They admired her, respected her. He could see the trust in their eyes. She exuded a quiet strength that made him proud yet intimidated at the same time. "Thank you for the warm welcome," he managed to say, though his voice felt small, like it was driftwood on a vast sea. The staff welcomed him with nods, but he still felt outside, a little lost in their world. Andrea stepped closer, her energy radiating out. "We were just discussing plans for tomorrow," she said casually, like they were just continuing a conversation she had been having before. The staff nodded in agreement, their admiration palpable. Sam stood there, grateful for her gesture, but also a little overwhelmed. Unexpected warmth made him feel a bit more at home, yet he still wrestled with the fear of being unworthy. "Let's take you inside," Andrea insisted, guiding him forward. The doors opened once again, leaving the chill behind. Inside, the lobby buzzed with activity, but all the noise faded into a background hum as he stepped into the heart of elegance. As they walked through the lobby, Sam marveled at the ornate decorations, stunning art pieces hanging from the walls, reflecting a wealth built over decades. The shimmering chandeliers looked like stars suspended in a dream. He felt like a kid in a candy store, overwhelmed by the colors and sweetness of it all. Yet could he truly embrace this? She whispered, leaning closer. There was the same warm look in her eyes that had first drawn him in. "Yeah," he said, but his voice trembled slightly. "More than okay, just, it's a lot," she replied. A staff member approached with a tray of shiny drinks, each one golden and bubbly. "Compliments of the hotel," she said, eyes sparkling. Sam could see her working hard to hold on to the glamour of this moment, to make him feel it too. He took a drink and sipped, the fizzy taste awakening his senses. It was refreshing, and for a brief moment he lost himself in its sparkle. He could do this, right? They both could. "Let's sit down," Andrea suggested, motioning toward a cozy corner adorned with plush couches. They nestled into the softness, the moment enveloping them in an embrace. Sam ventured, looking deeper into her eyes. "All of this, the expectations, She smiled, running her fingers through her hair. "I already have." Sam shook his head. "No, I don't know that." The way she looked at him, it stirred something deep inside. "It's all about perspective, Sam." Her words hung in the air, standing tall like the buildings outside. He wanted to believe her, to wrap himself in her confidence like a warm blanket that would shield him from the chilly whispers of doubt that threatened to creep back in. Outside, the rain had picked up, a soft curtain of droplets shrouding the world in a dreamlike haze. Sam could hear the echoes of laughter and conversation filling the air, weaving a tapestry of connection and warmth. These were people on journeys, each story intertwining. The hotel staff moved around them, delivering delicious dishes, smiles plentiful. They started to share their ideas and plans for the upcoming project Andrea had mentioned clumsily at dinner last week. To Sam, they sounded like a melody, words flowing over each other with grace. He watched Andrea in her element, her hands animated as she explained, her laughter ringing out like music. And in that moment, Sam realized it wasn't just about the hotel, the staff, or even the drinks. It was about her, what she brought to life. Pride swelled inside him. He was here, wasn't he? They were in this together. He leaned a little closer, catching the spark in her eyes. Hours seemed to slip by like grains of sand, each passing moment deepening Sam's connection to the atmosphere around him. He felt lighter, more at ease. The hotel wasn't a barrier, it was a bridge leading him towards a brighter future, one where he didn't have to be the outsider anymore. Andrea asked, her eyes glimmering with certainty. "I do," Sam replied, his voice steady. I think I've always known." Andrea smiled, and the corners of her mouth curved with a warmth that melted away every doubt he had. That's the spirit. The night continued to unfold before them, as they shared stories, laughter, and moments that would weave themselves into the fabric of their lives. Sam felt a new kind of strength building inside him, one that made him eager to face whatever came next. So there they were, surrounded by elegance and grace, each moment breathing life into their shared dreams. The hotel had transformed from an imposing structure to a canvas for their future, each brushstroke adding depth to the story they were creating together. Time flowed, the night deepening until it was just the two of them, side by side, ready to take on the world together. And in that moment, Sam knew he'd never feel like an outsider again. Sam felt a rush of anxiety as the grand hotel doors closed behind Andrea. "Wait here," she'd instructed, a confident smile gracing her lips. He stood outside, staring at the polished marble stones, his heart racing. It was a strange mix of anticipation and doubt that settled around him like fog. Just moments ago, he had been filled with eagerness, but now, standing in front of the grand entrance, he suddenly felt like an outsider, not just to the hotel, but to the very life that Andrea seemed to command. The vibrant city buzzed around him, but all Sam could hear was silence as he shifted his weight from foot to foot. His gaze darted to the ornate fixtures that adorned the building. Gold accents glimmered in the light of street lamps, and the doorman's crisp uniform radiated with authority and elegance. Just inside, he could see patrons mingling, laughter peppering the air, creating a cloak of warmth he could only ache to feel. Minutes passed, but it felt like eternity. Doubts clawed at his mind. Would Andrea return? Would she think of him as just another part of her glamorous life? After all, he was just Sam. A guy with a regular job, dreams tucked away like forgotten toys in a closet. He thought about his own world, how different it was from here. He shook his head, desperate to clear his thoughts. "You can do this," he whispered to himself, even as the tightening in his chest betrayed his nerves. Just then, the heavy doors swung open and Andrea emerged, her energy almost palpable. She stood tall, wearing an aura of authority that made him feel both proud and intimidated. But she wasn't alone. Behind her, an entire row of hotel staff lined up, their faces glowing with warmth and admiration, like a royal court welcoming a king. She called, her voice slicing through the haze of his worry. He stepped forward instinctively, but Andrea waved her hand dismissively, a playful reminder that his role wasn't to rush in just yet. She said, glancing back at the staff. Behind her, they shifted slightly, anticipation shared among them. Sam's heart raced, unsure if they would acknowledge him, or if they were just caught up in their admiration of Andrea. Each staff member stood poised, their expressions a mix of respect and excitement, looking to her for guidance. In that instant, Sam felt a jolt of energy spark from the quiet respect emanating from the group. "This is Sam," Andrea continued, her voice steady. She gestured dramatically, like a magician revealing a hidden card. All at once, he felt the eyes of the crowd turn toward him, and the air thickened with unspoken expectations. But instead of retreating, something stirred deep within him. "Hi everyone," he managed, his voice wavering but genuine. He could hardly believe he was speaking to all of them. The warmth in their greetings enveloped him, but doubt still lingered. Did they see him as worthy of their attention? Did they even care? The hotel manager stepped forward, extending a hand with a wide grin. His tone was genuine, uplifting. That fueled a flame of courage in Sam. He could feel it both in his chest and in the way the staff around him suddenly didn't feel intimidating. They were people, each with their own stories etched in their eyes. He shook the manager's hand, a confident smile finally breaking through his uncertainty. "Thank you." The words slipped out with more ease than he expected, drawing nods and smiles from the row of staff. Andrea turned to him, her eyes sparkling with approval. "I'm glad you're here, Sam." Behind her, someone handed him a sparkling drink, golden bubbles swirling, reflecting the glow of the chandeliers above. "Compliments of the hotel," the waiter said with a wink. There was an unspoken encouragement in that gesture, an invitation to partake in this world that now felt like a dream. As they walked deeper into the hotel, Sam marveled at the elegance surrounding him. The grand chandeliers above looked like galaxies cast into the room, their light draping everything in warmth. The sofas invited relaxation, and the intricate artwork on the walls told stories of grandeur he barely grasped. It was more than just a place, it was an experience, a feeling that ignited a longing deep inside him. They passed other guests chatting, their voices blending into the background like a fine symphony. Sam felt the pulse of the hotel vibrate under his feet. It was alive, woven together by stories and dreams, each person a thread in the grand creation. Andrea guided him to a plush seating area where sunlight streamed in through tall windows framed by heavy drapes. They settled in, and the moment felt surreal, as if this were a scene from a movie unfolding around them. She asked, glancing around in awe. Sam nodded, but beneath the admiration lay a nagging doubt. But what if I don't fit in here? Feels so. Andrea leaned closer, her expression serious but understanding. You belong here because you're here with me. Remember, it's not about what you wear or how much money you make. Her words wrapped around him like a warm hug, easing the harsh edges of his self-doubt. He wanted to believe her, but the shadows of his insecurities still loomed large. Just then, a staff member approached, interrupting their moment. "Excuse me, Ms. Davis," the staff member said, looking between them. "Perfect," Andrea replied, her voice breaking into bright confidence. She turned to Sam, her eyes filled with excitement. Sam took a deep breath, the weight of the moment pressing against him. He knew this project was important to her, and that alone made him want to push through his fears. "I am," he said, more determined than before. As they entered the meeting room, the atmosphere shifted again. A large table filled with eager faces awaited, eyes glimmering with hope and curiosity. This was it, the moment where dreams collided with reality. Andrea began to present, her confidence infectious. Sam watched her carefully, caught up in the way she commanded attention, the way she brought everyone into her vision. He felt himself leaning in, heart racing, a blend of admiration and pride swelling within him. As she spoke, he noticed the staff hanging on her every word. This was her world, and she navigated it effortlessly. He could see how they respected her, and it made something shift within him. If they believed in her, why couldn't he believe in himself? Soon, it was Sam's turn. Andrea motioned for him to join her at the forefront, and his heart began to race. Approached slowly, senses heightened, every heartbeat echoing in his ears. "Sam's going to share some of his ideas," Andrea said, her trust in him laid bare. The anticipation from the staff was palpable, and for the first time that evening, he felt a buzz of excitement run through him. This was a chance, a moment to shine. Taking a deep breath, he spoke. "I think we can take this project to another level by focusing on how it impacts the community." The words flowed, supported by her unwavering gaze. The staff nodded and took notes, the lines on their brows indicating they were already formulating thoughts about his ideas. It was surreal. Sam felt like he was shedding layers of self-doubt, emerging as someone bolder, someone who belonged in this room. Hours melted into moments, filled with laughter, brainstorming, and creative energy that bounced off the walls. Andrea would look at him and smile, and with each exchange, Sam felt the resonance of their connection deepening. They weren't just teammates, they were collaborators, dreamers both carving paths into the unknown. Finally, the meeting wrapped up, and applause erupted from the team, celebrating the venture they had begun. The sense of camaraderie enveloped them, and Sam felt a wave of fulfillment wash over him. He had left the uncertain boy outside. He was now someone entirely different. As they walked back into the main area of the hotel, a glow surrounded them, both from the magic of the hotel and the realization of how powerful the evening had been. "See," Andrea said, her excitement infectious. "Thanks to you for believing in me," he replied, gratitude pouring from him. Andrea smiled, her eyes shimmering like the lights above. They paused by the large windows, the city twinkling beneath them, celebrating their triumph with an orchestra of lights. Sam turned to her, feeling emboldened. "I want to be part of this, really part of it." She reached out, her hand warm against his. "You already are, Sam, you've crossed over." In her eyes, he saw a promise, a new beginning filled with possibilities. It was a moment that solidified the shift from uncertainty to belonging. As the night unfolded around them, they knew they were ready for whatever might come next, hand in hand, facing a world waiting to be discovered. The hotel buzzed with energy, its warmth wrapping around them like an embrace, and for the first time, Sam felt like he truly belonged. "Wait here, Sam." Those were the last words he heard before the heavy hotel doors swung shut behind Andrea, sealing him outside like a forgotten umbrella caught in a storm. He stood on the curb, his breath visible in the crisp evening air, a sense of unease swirling inside him. The bustling city moved around him, but he felt isolated, a visitor in a world he didn't belong to. The hotel loomed like a giant, an elegant blend of glass and steel, radiating the kind of luxury that left ordinary people like Sam feeling small. He fiddled with his jacket, the chill biting at him. What was he doing waiting here anyway? He wasn't the type to be in places like this. A moment ago, he'd been inside with her, laughing easily, but now, anxiety gripped him. The laughter that echoed in the lobby felt distant, almost dreamlike. He could still see the opulent chandeliers glittering overhead, their reflections dancing in the polished marble floors. But here outside, he felt the weight of reality bearing down on him. What if she came back and decided he didn't fit in? What if? The thoughts spiraled as he tried to shake them off. He watched other guests pass by, elegantly dressed, gliding into the hotel like they belonged there. Sam couldn't help but compare himself to them. They exuded confidence, a poise he felt he could never summon. Around him, the city buzzed. Cars whizzed by, and the laughter from the nearby cafe sounded warm and inviting. yet he felt detached, as if this was all happening on another planet. Just then, the main entrance creaked open again, and Andrea stepped out. Her smile was radiant, but that wasn't the surprising part. It was the line of hotel staff trailing behind her, all perfectly dressed in their smart uniforms, faces gleaming with excitement. They stood in perfect formation, like an army ready to greet a dignitary. She called out, and with one swift motion, the staff stepped aside, forming an unmistakable path toward him. He froze, uncertainty coursing through him. Why were they all looking at him? Andrea waved him over, and the staff shifted slightly with anticipation, their smiles brightening the dim evening air. As he approached, a sense of warmth washed over him. Sam was still weaving through a fog of confusion, trying to comprehend why these well-dressed strangers were gathered. He knew what this moment meant for Andrea. She had spent weeks preparing for this event. Was it really about him? "Everyone, this is Sam," Andrea announced with a flourish, her voice ringing out like a bell. And just like that, the atmosphere shifted. The manager stepped forward, extending his hand. "Welcome, Sam." Stunned, Sam shook his hand, taken aback by the genuine warmth in the manager's voice. The eyes of the staff sparkled, a combination of curiosity and admiration reflected back at him. Each of them was looking at him as if he held some treasure they had been waiting for. "Thanks, it's nice to meet you all," he managed, surprised at how steady his voice came out. The moment bubbled with expectancy, as if he were being offered entry not just to the hotel, but to a whole different world. Andrea leaned closer, her confidence a comforting embrace. "They've been waiting to meet you, Sam." Support. The word reverberated in his mind. This was so much more than just a greeting. It was an acknowledgement of who he was in a way he had never anticipated. The realization surged through him, replacing his doubts with a flicker of hope. The staff began to introduce themselves, each excited to play a part in this moment. The concierge, a smiling woman named Claire, greeted him with a friendly handshake and an infectious enthusiasm. Hearing your ideas felt like a key unlocking a door he had never realized was there. Sam felt the spark of belief ignite inside him, pushing aside the shadows of self-doubt. Instead of being the outsider, he was becoming part of something, a thread woven into this grand tapestry. As the introductions continued, he discovered that each team member had their own story. Their respect for Andrea was palpable, but they were also genuinely excited to welcome him. The sense of camaraderie enveloped him, replacing his earlier anxiety with a growing confidence. "Let's get you inside," Andrea said, her hand firmly on his back, guiding him through the lavish entrance. As they stepped through the doors, Sam's senses were assaulted by the warmth inside, the scent of rich coffee mingling with delicate pastries from the cafe. The atmosphere was electric, with chatter, laughter, and the clinking of glasses. It was a swirl of life, and he found himself drawn into its rhythm. The staff moved efficiently yet gracefully, engaging with guests like old friends. It was then that Sam realized it felt less like a hotel and more like a community, a supportive family bound by shared ambitions. Little would he know this evening would change everything. They settled in a cozy corner surrounded by lush green plants and vibrant art, a sanctuary amid the hotel's bustling life. Andrea began discussing the project, a massive initiative aimed at improving community engagement and sustainability. Sam listened, captivated, feeling the weight of his past fears begin to lift. "We want to integrate the local community into our branding," Andrea explained, enthusiasm lighting her eyes. The weight of the task was exhilarating, the stakes clear, but what lay in front of him was an opportunity. He could finally shape his voice in this world that had always felt slightly out of reach. "I think we should highlight stories from the community, individuals who have genuinely impacted others' lives," he suggested, surprise coursing through him as he spoke. The ideas flowed effortlessly, each one building upon the last, with Andrea nodding, encouraging him to keep going. The team around them listened intently, heads nodding in agreement. Sam quickly found himself swept up in the excitement of collective brainstorming, as if he were at the center of it all. Someone chimed in with a suggestion. Another added, eyes sparkling. The conversation became a ball of energy, bouncing back and forth as everyone contributed. Lost in the joy of creation, Sam felt every thread of worry unravel. He was no longer the person just waiting outside. He was becoming a part of something bigger, a part of their shared dream. As the meeting continued, the evening light began to dim, replaced by a warm glow from elegant sconces lining the walls. Sam looked around and saw the warmth of camaraderie wrapped around him like a comforting blanket. This was what belonging felt like, the thrill of collaboration and the joy of sharing ideas. Finally, after what felt like hours, the discussion wrapped up with a sense of accomplishment hanging in the air. Applause erupted, thanks and congratulations echoing around the room. Sam felt a rush of emotion, gratitude, excitement, and an energetic sense that they were all in this together. "Thank you, everyone," Andrea said, her voice ringing with triumph. As the applause faded and conversations shifted, Sam turned to her, a grin spreading across his face. "I can't believe how amazing that was." She smiled back, her eyes bright. "You needed to see what I saw to feel it yourself." Her words struck deep, resonating with a truth he had long feared to embrace. He felt different now, changed in ways he couldn't fully articulate. It had taken only a few moments, yet it was as if he had shed his old skin, exposing new possibilities. "Thank you for bringing me into your world," he replied, a flood of gratitude pouring from him. Just then Claire, the concierge, returned, her expression glowing with excitement. The celebratory dinner is about to start in the main dining area. Before he could think, Andrea grabbed his hand, pulling him into the exciting swirl of activity. Of course, as they walked toward the dining area, all the initial nerves evaporated into the vibrant energy of the crowd around him. Each step he took was more confident, more natural. They entered a beautifully decorated dining room where shimmering lights hung overhead like stars, casting an enchanting glow. Laughter floated around like music, and Sam saw the buzz of conversation generating warmth. Everyone gathered around long tables adorned with elegant place settings. The staff moved gracefully, serving dishes that looked as good as they smelled. Sam could hardly contain his excitement. As they took their seats, Andrea nudged him playfully. He looked at her and laughed, his heart racing with a mix of nerves and thrill. As dinner began, stories began to flow freely, weaving through the air like the delicate steam rising from the aromatic dishes. The atmosphere was filled with laughter, friendships rekindling, and new connections sparking like fireworks in the night sky. Sam felt a new sense of belonging blossoming within him. He shared anecdotes about his life, and for the first time felt truly listened to, valued. Each laugh and smile from the table fed his spirit, solidifying the bond he was forming with everyone around him. The night deepened, shadows lengthening as conversations transformed into vibrant stories that painted the essence of people's experiences. Sam leaned back in his chair, a contented smile spreading across his face, no longer feeling like the outsider peering in through the window. Later, as they stepped back into the hotel entrance, chill evening air hit him like a refreshing wave. The night sky stretched above, stars twinkling like the dreams he was now ready to embrace. He said softly, glancing over at Andrea. "You did," she replied, her smile radiant, genuine, "and you'll keep doing it." He could see the excitement reflected in her eyes. The overflowing promise of what lay ahead filled him with a sense of purpose like never before. Together, they stood at the threshold of possibility, ready to face whatever would come next. Sam felt a deep sense of gratitude wash over him as he began to reflect on all that the evening had unfolded. The journey had transformed him, turning a night filled with doubts into the doorway of a new chapter. Outside, the world was alive, waiting to be explored. This was only the beginning for both of them, and as they stepped forward into the unknown, Sam knew he would never wait outside again. "Wait outside for a moment, Sam," she said, a glint of excitement in her eyes. And just like that, Andrea pushed open the massive glass doors of the hotel, the shimmering lights spilling out into the night like a warm invitation. Sam stood there just outside the threshold as the doors clicked shut behind her, sealing him off from the opulent world inside. The grandeur of the hotel loomed over him, high columns framing the entrance like sentinels. He could hear laughter bubbling like champagne from the lobby, the distant clink of glasses, the rustle of fancy clothes brushing together. Everything felt so alive. But out here, on the edge of it all, he felt like a lone figure painted against a backdrop he didn't truly belong to. He had always been the guy on the sidelines, the one who watched while others took center stage. Jeans and simple button-up shirt felt like a stark contrast to the elegant attire of the guests inside, slipping through the doorway like shadows dancing through light. The longer he stood there, the heavier his anxiety became. He muttered to himself, a sense of unease creeping in. What was Andrea doing that would require him to wait? Did she need a moment alone to prepare, or worse, was she having second thoughts about him? Time seemed to stretch as he fidgeted with his sleeves, anxiety twisting in his gut. He glanced up at the night sky where the stars sparkled, seemingly far out of reach. Just like the life he wanted, the confidence of his dreams felt distant. Then, after what felt like an eternity, he saw the doors swing open again. Andrea emerged, her smile brighter than the lights above her, but she wasn't alone this time. Behind her, a line of hotel staff stood waiting, their faces lit up with anticipation like they were a welcoming committee awaiting a kingdom's arrival. She called out, her voice slicing through his uncertainty. Heart racing, he stepped forward, but she held up a hand, signaling for him to pause. She said, and he felt a rush of excitement mixed with confusion. She turned back to the staff, leaning into her role effortlessly. The staff reacted like a team unveiling a new trophy, eyes sparkling with interest. One by one, they stepped forward. A woman in a crisp uniform said, her voice warm and inviting. Each handshake felt like a surge of energy, igniting something inside him. Sam couldn't shake the feeling that he had just crossed some invisible threshold into a realm he barely understood. There was an electric buzz in the air, an expectation that pulled him in. He asked, astonishment weaving through his words. Said the concierge, "Andrea speaks so highly of you." The warmth in her eyes made him feel more than welcome. It made him feel seen. Suddenly, this world wasn't as intimidating. There was a sense of connection, of belonging brewing among the staff as they smiled and initiated conversation. Each acknowledgement felt like a gentle nudge, inviting him to step inside to participate, not just as Andrea's companion, but as someone valued in his own right. As Andrea moved through the line, each team member shared a quick introduction. The manager, Claire, had a twinkle in her eye as she welcomed him, while another staff member grinned playfully. Laughter rippled through the group, and Sam felt a laugh bubbling up within him, a newfound thrill sparking where anxiety once reigned. Andrea beamed, watching him interact, and that look of pride emboldened him even more. "Let's get you inside," she urged, placing her hand on his back as they moved toward the entrance. The atmosphere inside was warm, filled with conversations swirling like the vibrant colors of the decor. He could hear music playing softly, and the air was thick with the aroma of exquisite cuisine. Sam stepped into the hotel, and the ambience wrapped around him like a blanket. It ceased to be merely an establishment. It became a living, breathing experience. Chandeliers hung from the ceiling, twinkling like stars just a shade away from the real ones. Each detail was sexier than the last, beautifully arranged flowers, plush seating, and the gentle sound of laughter creating a lively symphony. "Wow," he breathed, taking it all in as they walked deeper. Earlier worries began melting away, replaced by an electrifying sense of possibility. Was he really here? Andrea guided him to a seating area near a large window. "Sam, this is where the real magic happens," she said, motioning to the view of the city sparkling below. He sank into the plush seat, the soft fabric enveloping him like a hug. With this one moment, he could feel the weight of the world start to lift. Andrea dove into explaining the evening's agenda, her energy vibrant and contagious. They discussed the upcoming project, where she described how they wished to integrate the local community into the hotel's framework. "Your impressions and ideas will matter," she said confidently, glancing at him with a knowing smile. The atmosphere around them pulsed with electricity, and for the first time he understood it wasn't just Andrea's vision, he could be a part of something meaningful. But what if? The question slipped out before he could stop it, vulnerability creeping in. "Sam, you've had years of life experience to draw from," she prodded gently. "You bring a unique perspective." At that moment, as he absorbed her words, he felt a shift within himself. He took a deep breath, and with it, the clouds of self-doubt began to part. Maybe this was an opportunity to shed the layers that had held him back. Before he could respond, the hotel staff drifted around them, offering drinks and hors d'oeuvres, mingling with guests who filled the room. With each smile and nod thrown his way, he began to feel more like a participant in this lively tapestry. A few moments later, a soft voice cut through the chatter. It was Claire, looking particularly professional yet warm. Sam exchanged glances with Andrea, then turned back to Claire. She replied, brimming with enthusiasm, "We're sharing ways to enhance our community impact." Sam swallowed hard, excitement and fear blending like colors in a canvas. Would he have the courage to contribute? He felt a flicker of hesitation, but Andrea's encouraging gaze grounded him. As they took their seats in the grand meeting room, the excitement swirled around him. Other team members filtered in, their expressions a mix of determination and confidence. The air was charged with purpose, and Sam felt his own determination swell with each face he encountered. Andrea stood up to present first. She launched into her vision, her voice steady and full of passion, illuminating the room like a spotlight. Sam watched her, mesmerized by her ease, and thought of how she believed in those around her, how she believed in him. "And that's why we need to incorporate local stories into our branding," she concluded, gesturing toward Sam. Heads turned, all eyes now on him. He felt the warmth of their attention, the unspoken encouragement radiating from the group. With each heartbeat, he realized this was his moment to shine. "So hey everyone," he said, his voice growing steadier, the initial nerves replaced by excitement. As he spoke, the room leaned in closer, and murmurs of agreement rippled through the audience. With every word, he felt a stubborn, newfound confidence growing. He spoke about the local artists, the community leaders, the unsung heroes shaping the neighborhood, and how their stories could connect in ways that hadn't been explored yet. When he finished, applause broke out, reverberating off the polished walls. It wasn't just clapping, it was a cascade of appreciation, recognition, and acceptance. Andrea beamed at him, her enthusiasm infectious. He felt a rush of pride swelling within him, banishing lingering doubt. The energy in the room shifted, everyone buzzing with ideas and excitement. They moved into an energetic discussion, a flurry of creativity that enveloped Sam like the first rays of sun breaking through a winter morning. Sam realized he was no longer standing outside looking in. He was firmly rooted within this vibrant community, his voice echoing alongside others he admired. Ideas sparked like fireworks, and conversations blossomed into plans, each moment a thread weaving into a colorful tapestry of collaboration. As the meeting wrapped up, Sam felt a deep sense of fulfillment, his heart alight with inspiration. "Thank you all," Andrea said, addressing the group. The gentle applause faded, and staff members began to mingle again. The buzz of previously reserved elements had transformed into a warmth unlike anything Sam had felt before. Andrea turned to him, eyes glimmering with excitement. Sam could only nod, overwhelmed by the experience. Just then, Claire returned, smiling warmly. Andrea jumped in, glancing at Sam with sparkling enthusiasm. As they walked to the dining area, each step reinforced not just their bond, but also his newfound sense of belonging. There were others in the room, yet each of them felt like part of something larger, the spirit of community palpable. When they entered the dining room, it unfolded like a painting, awash with an elegant blend of colors. Each table was set meticulously, and the atmosphere was filled with the rich aroma of food and the gentle hum of conversation. Candles flickered, casting beautiful shadows that danced along the walls. They settled into a lavish booth, and immediately conversation flowed like a bubbling brook. The mission held everyone captive as they shared stories, hopes, and dreams. Sam felt a buoyancy, a lightness he hadn't known before, bubbling within him. He leaned back, taking it all in. The laughter, the camaraderie, the acknowledgement that he was not just a guest but an integral part of this experience, it all felt far more meaningful than any fancy decoration or gourmet dish. Time melted into a rhythm as stories flowed freely, laughter erupted from different sides of the room, and moments turned into memories. He learned about the journey of each staff member, absorbing their tales like a sponge. In those moments of connection, the lines between hotel staff and visitors blurred. It was all about shared humanity. Later in the evening, Andrea leaned over to him, her eyes sparkling with a mixture of joy and pride. "You did it," she said softly. He looked at her, a rush of gratitude flowing through him. The night had transformed more than just a dinner. It was a journey pushing him beyond previously conceived boundaries. "I owe it to you," he replied. "That's what friends are for," she said, her smile bright and warm. The evening slipped away like sand through fingers, but the feeling clung to him like a cozy blanket. He wasn't just Sam, the guy on the outside, anymore. He had carved out his own identity in this vibrant setting, and it had changed him forever. As they stepped outside later, the city glowed, each light twinkling like a promise. Sam felt that excitement swell inside him, a sense of purpose blossoming alongside his newfound confidence. "Tonight was just the beginning," Andrea said, her voice filled with certainty. And as he gazed at the stars blinking back at them from the velvet sky, he knew she was right. This was the start of a beautiful journey, one that would lead him into new realms he had never dared to explore. Together, they were ready to embrace whatever awaited them, stepping forward into a future painted with the vibrant colors of possibility. "Wait right here." Those words hung in the air like a spell as Andrea turned and stepped into the opulent hotel without looking back. Sam stood outside, feeling the chill of the evening air wrap around him, the warmth of the hotel receding like a distant memory. He shuffled his feet, glancing up at the grand building looming above him. Its towering columns and sprawling entrance exuded luxury, an extravagant world he felt he had stumbled into by mistake. He inhaled deeply, trying to calm the fluttering in his stomach. It was just a hotel, he reminded himself, just a place for people to gather, to celebrate, to sleep, yet everything about it felt daunting. The laughter and muffled conversations drifted from within, a vibrant melody that felt utterly alien to him. Sam had always viewed life from the sidelines, a spectator in a game where everyone else seemed to know the rules. He glanced down at his outfit, casual jeans and a simple button-up shirt. In this arena of elegance, he felt like a loose thread hanging from a well-tailored suit. He thought of Andrea inside, charming the staff with her laugh, and a pang of self-doubt crept in. Did she want him to wait out here because she was embarrassed? The thought left a bitter taste in his mouth. He felt like a wrong player waiting for a turn that might never come. He shook the feeling off, trying to maintain hope. Then, just as he began to question his decision to come, the heavy doors swung open once more, and Andrea stepped out, looking radiant, her hair perfectly styled, her face glowing with confidence. But she wasn't alone. Behind her stood a line of hotel staff, their smiles bright and inviting. She called out, her voice echoing through the cool night air. Her excitement was palpable, almost electric. He hesitated, feeling the gravity of the moment settle on him. She turned back to the staff, waving her hand with the flourish of a conductor leading an orchestra. His heart raced. In an instant, the staff stepped aside, forming a path as if he were royalty entering the room. He approached, his palms tingling with a mix of excitement and disbelief. The hotel manager, a dignified man in a perfectly pressed suit, took a step forward. "Welcome, Sam." Warmth in the man's smile struck something deep within Sam. "Hi, nice to meet you," he stammered, shaking the man's hand. The staff members began to introduce themselves one by one. Each greeting felt like a wave of acceptance washing over him. Suddenly, he wasn't just the guy waiting outside. He was welcomed, valued, part of something greater. "Andrea has told us all about your achievements," said Claire, the concierge, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. Sam exchanged glances with Andrea. Was this really happening? Their conversation earlier in the week flashed through his mind, where she had mentioned the importance of this event, hinting at how much her colleagues admired her and how she wanted him to be a part of it. But standing here with the staff, the sensation of being an imposter washed over him. They seemed like a tight-knit community, while he felt like a spectator looking in through a foggy window. Andrea sensed his discomfort. "You belong here, Sam." She stepped closer, her voice a soothing balm against his nerves. "Let's go inside," she said, motioning for him to follow. As they walked together through the grand entrance, he couldn't shake the awe that enveloped him. The lobby sparkled with chandeliers hanging from the vaulted ceilings, the golden light reflecting off the polished floors like a dance of stars. Guests mingled, laughter bubbling up like champagne, filling the air with an eerie vibrancy that made his heart race even faster. "Take a deep breath," Andrea whispered as they entered, sensing his tension. He nodded, closing his eyes for a brief moment to soak in the noise and the ambience. When he opened them again, he couldn't deny the shift happening within him. As they settled into a plush corner with rich armchairs and a stunning view of the city skyline, Andrea turned to him, her focus piercing through his worries. "We're here to show the staff what we can do together." The spotlight shifted, and he could feel the gravity of her words. Yes, this was real. He was here on purpose, invited to share his thoughts and creativity, but the weight of that responsibility felt heavy on his shoulders. The doubt slipped out before he could stop it, vulnerability spilling into the atmosphere. "Sam," she leaned in closer, "this isn't about being perfect." Her hand rested on his for a moment, grounding him in her resolve. And just like that, a flicker of determination sparked within him. The night wasn't just about her accomplishment or recognition. It was a canvas where he could paint his own vision too. Before he knew it, the first official gathering for their project began, a celebration of collaboration, creativity, and community. The staff gathered around, their faces filled with anticipation as Andrea stepped up to present. With each word, he watched her command the room, weaving a tapestry of vision and possibility. "Tonight," she began, addressing the team, "we're taking a new step. This isn't just about us, it's about the community and how we can engage them." Warmth spread through him like sunlight breaking through the clouds. Applause erupted from the staff as Andrea gestured for him to join her. He stood next to her, heart racing, adrenaline coursing through him. "Sam has incredible experiences and perspectives that could inform our initiatives," she declared. He could hardly process the weight of her words. Together, they began sharing their ideas, and with each exchange, he felt the dread of inadequacy begin to dissolve. He spoke about the importance of inclusion, sharing real stories from local community members, leveraging their authentic experiences. The room hung on his words, nodding in agreement, and he could feel their eyes, not as judgment, but as encouragement. There was a buzz in the air, a fresh energy that invigorated him. "Let's make this about more than just a hotel," he said more confidently now. "Let's build connections, foster relationships with the people outside this building." Cheerful ideas erupted from their discussions. One staff member suggested hosting a local art exhibit, showcasing community talents. Another proposed a volunteer program so guests and staff could engage together in meaningful ways, bringing the inside out into the neighborhood. With every idea shared, Sam felt more in tune with the group, interweaving their thoughts into a collective vision. They were no longer separate entities, but a united force creating something bigger than themselves. As the meeting wrapped up, applause filled the room. Sam couldn't help but grin, a flush of pride dancing on his cheeks. His earlier insecurities drowned underneath a wave of accomplishment. Andrea leaned over to him, her eyes gleaming. "You were incredible." The warmth of her encouragement enveloped him, weaving around his spirit like a protective cloak. "I couldn't have done this without you," he confessed, gratefulness spilling from him. With a sudden glint of mischief in her eyes, she raised a glass. As they moved into the dining area for dinner, the opulence of the decor dazzled him further. The table was adorned with elegant place settings and a myriad of dishes that looked like mini works of art. He settled in, surrounded by laughter and the delicious scent of rich cuisine. The conversations flowed effortlessly, and he found himself laughing, gesturing to emphasize a point or share a story. The evening felt alive with connection, shared experiences turning strangers into friends. Sam leaned back in his seat, soaking it all in. This wasn't just another corporate dinner, it was a celebration of unity. The ambience around him resonated with joy, and every voice blended into a symphony of a shared dream. Later, when the clinking of glasses settled, someone raised a toast. They proclaimed, and the room erupted in cheers. Sam felt something swell within him, a deep understanding that he had stepped into something transformative. "Thank you all for welcoming me here," he said, lifting his glass. The warmth of acceptance enveloped him like a radiant glow. Conversations morphed into vibrant exchanges, stories poured from lips like fine wine and dreams mingled with hopes. Each moment felt like a fresh brushstroke on the canvas of his life. As the night wore on and laughter filled the air, Sam turned to Andrea, gratitude etched across his face. "I can't put into words how much this means to me," he admitted. She smiled, her eyes shining with hope. "You did this." The evening finally wound down, and as they stepped outside, the night embraced them in a cool breeze. The city lights twinkled against the vast black sky, a stunning backdrop spotlighting a moment he'd never forget. Sam took a deep breath, feeling alive in a way he hadn't felt in years. He grasped the weight of what had happened that night, the shift from uncertainty to belonging, from feeling like an outsider to being embraced by a community. Andrea asked, glancing over at him. He looked out at the glowing skyline, taking in every detail. "Yes," he said with conviction. As they walked together into the night, ready to face whatever awaited them, Sam felt the armor of doubt shatter around him, revealing a resilient spirit he had hidden for too long. This was just the beginning, a doorway that had opened wide, leading to the uncharted territories of his future. Together, they stepped forward into the possibilities, ready to write their own story, one where he would never have to stand outside again. "Wait outside for just a moment, Sam," she said, a twinkle in her eyes. As the massive glass doors of the hotel slid shut behind her, he felt an instant rush of uncertainty wash over him. He stood in front of the grand building, awestruck by its opulence. The polished marble steps gleamed under the golden lights, and laughter floated out through the doors, mingling with the cool evening air. Sam had always thought of himself as an ordinary guy, comfortable in his simple life. Yet here he was, standing at the entrance of a high-end hotel like a piece of furniture in a museum, a thing to be admired but never touched. His jeans and casual shirt felt threadbare compared to the elegant attire of the guests inside. He shuffled his feet nervously, pulling his jacket closer around him as if it could shield him from the growing sense of anxiety. Minutes ticked by like hours. He glanced around, watching well-dressed couples gliding in and out, their laughter ringing out like music. All of it felt so distant, so far removed from where he stood. What if Andrea didn't come back? What if she decided she didn't want him here? 1,000 what-ifs swirled in his mind, each one tightening its grip on his heart. Just as doubt began spreading like a shadow over his optimism, the glass doors swung open. There she was. Andrea, radiant and poised, stood framed by the entryway, but she wasn't alone. Behind her, a lineup of hotel staff had gathered, their smiles bright and inviting, an army of hospitality shining in their crisp uniforms. She called, her voice ringing clear. Stunned, he took a hesitant step forward, but Andrea motioned for him to stop. She said, turning back to the staff, her confidence palpable. "Everyone, this is Sam," she announced, her voice brimming with pride. A wave of warmth rushed over him as the staff turned to him, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and eager anticipation. His heart raced as he took in the moment. This was no longer just a hotel, this was the heartbeat of a vibrant community, and he was about to become part of it, said the hotel manager, extending his hand with enthusiasm. In that instance, the feeling of being an outsider began to dissolve. The firm handshake felt solid, grounding him. "Thank you," Sam replied, surprised at the steadiness of his own voice. He began shaking hands with each staff member, their smiles illuminating a path deeper into the hotel that once felt impossibly grand and foreign. "Andrea has spoken so highly of you," one of them said, her eyes sparkling with genuine excitement. Sam felt a rush of warmth at the thought of Andrea sharing stories about him. It was the first spark of acceptance in a world he had thought was beyond his reach. He asked, a blend of disbelief and curiosity swirling within him. "She's told us about your journey and your incredible ideas," another staff member chimed in. Their words wrapped around him like a soft blanket, making the night feel less daunting. Standing there, he realized he wasn't just a tag-along. He had something important to contribute. He felt both nervous and excited as Andrea turned to lead him back inside. She said, her smile fierce and unwavering. They stepped into the hotel together, and the atmosphere enveloped him in warmth. The lobby was a spectacle of elegance, gleaming chandeliers hung from above, casting shimmering patterns across the polished floors. Guests conversed in hushed tones, and the sounds mingled beautifully, creating a symphony that drew Sam in deeper. Each step he took felt lighter as he followed Andrea toward a seating area lined with plush sofas and vibrant artwork. As they settled into a corner, the mood shifted. Staff began to gather, their expressions eager and curious. It was almost as if this was the most exciting part of their evening, and here was Sam, ready to share the vision Andrea had been nurturing. "Tonight is important not just for us, but for the community we serve," Andrea began, her voice steady and compelling. Sam took a deep breath, suddenly aware that all eyes were on him. He felt that familiar flicker of doubt creeping in again. What if his ideas were inadequate? What if they didn't want to hear what he had to say? But as he glanced around the room, he noticed the encouraging nods, the supportive expressions on their faces. Andrea urged, and that simple phrase ignited a spark within him. He leaned forward, his heart pounding in his chest as he began to speak. "I think we need to focus on integrating the local community into everything we do here," he shared, surprising himself with the steadiness of his voice. As he spoke, he felt energy building not just within himself but within the group. It was as if a chain reaction had started, flowing through everyone present, igniting their passions. The staff began to share their own ideas, each suggestion building on the last. One team member suggested, "Yes," another chimed in with excitement. With each new idea, Sam felt a rush of exhilaration. This was what he had longed for, a chance to be part of something larger than himself. The doubts that had plagued him began to fade, replaced by a sense of belonging and purpose. Time slipped by, and before he knew it, discussions had turned into a whirlwind of plans and brainstorming. The energy in the room was electric, connections forming like threads weaving into a beautiful tapestry of collaboration. Eventually, the formal meeting ended, but the conversations lingered. Laughter blossomed as people exchanged stories and jokes, and Sam couldn't help but join in. He felt lighter, freer. As the evening wore on, Andrea leaned over, her eyes sparkling with joy. "You were fantastic, Sam. Thanks to you for believing in me," he replied, feeling a wave of gratitude rush over him. Just then, a staff member approached with a tray of drinks. She said, her enthusiasm infectious. "Yes," Andrea said, pulling him up from his seat. As they walked through the hotel's elegant corridors, Sam felt like he was stepping into a fairy tale. The dining area was beautifully set, adorned with elegant linens and a stunning centerpiece filled with flowers. The atmosphere buzzed with anticipation, and as they settled into their seats, he couldn't believe how far he had come in just a few hours. Dinner was a feast for the senses, delicious aromas wafting through the air, the clinking of glasses merging with laughter and the simmering warmth of camaraderie. Sam felt welcomed by everyone around him, and he realized he could allow himself to enjoy this moment. And so he opened up, sharing stories of his life outside the hotel walls, the challenges he had faced, the dreams he cherished, and the hopes that still flickered inside him. Each story drew nods, laughter, and empathetic cheers of understanding. Each person around the table seemed to resonate with his experiences, and Sam found solace in their shared humanity. It's amazing how stories can dissolve walls and create understanding, and he felt the bonds of connection forming. As the night drew on, someone suggested a toast. They exclaimed, the entire table raising their glasses in unison. Sam echoed, his heart swelling with a sense of belonging he hadn't known before. There was magic in those words, a promise that each step they had taken that night had led to something extraordinary. The hours flew by in a whirlwind of spirited conversation and laughter, and through it all, Sam felt a transformation within himself. The hesitant guy who had stood outside the hotel just hours ago was now part of this world, a world filled with opportunity, friendships, and the chance to make a real impact. When they finally stepped back outside, the night was cool and crisp, the stars twinkling like diamonds against the endless dark sky above. Sam took a deep breath, feeling a sense of renewal wash over him, filled with excitement for what lay ahead. Andrea asked, glancing over at him, her expression filled with encouragement. "I am," he replied, the words flowing with conviction. As they stepped forward into the bustling city streets, Sam could feel the pulse of possibility coursing through him. The shadows of doubt that had once loomed large began to fade, replaced by the vibrant hues of hope and confidence. He was no longer waiting outside, he had crossed the threshold into a new chapter of his life. With each step he felt lighter, the weight of anxiety lifting as they moved together toward the future. Sam knew that the night had been more than just an event. It had been a journey into self-discovery, a celebration of connection. He was ready to embrace whatever came next, and he wouldn't just stand on the sidelines anymore. He would make his mark, one story and one connection at a time. "Wait here, Sam." It was a simple request, yet it felt like a riddle, one he couldn't quite solve. As the grand doors of the hotel swung shut behind Andrea, he stood frozen in place, gripping the strap of his bag like a lifeline. The opulence of the building loomed before him, the polished marble glistening under the soft glow of streetlights. He could hear laughter drifting through the doors, the soft chatter of neatly dressed patrons indulging in their evening. Sam was not one to revel in luxury. He wore jeans and a simple t-shirt, feeling out of place against the backdrop of tailored suits and fine gowns. Why had he come? To support Andrea, sure, but now, standing outside, he felt more like an intruder than a companion. A heavy knot tightened in his stomach as he shifted from foot to foot. Minutes stretched painfully, each tick of time echoing louder than the last. He caught glimpses of Andrea through the frosted glass, charming the staff, her laughter bright and inviting. It sent a wave of warmth through him, but also an unsettling pang of doubt. What if she came back and decided he didn't belong in her world after all? What if she thought he looked foolish waiting outside, like a lost child on a busy street? The opinions of the smartly dressed people around him felt like an invisible weight pressing down on him. Then, just when discomfort threatened to swallow him whole, the doors swung open again and Andrea stepped out. The light from inside cast a golden halo around her, making her shine even brighter, but she wasn't alone. Behind her stood a tall line of hotel staff, all perfectly groomed, smiles shining as bright as the chandeliers he had glimpsed moments before. She called out and suddenly the world shifted. The hotel staff parted like a red carpet, their smiles warm and welcoming, as if waiting for a new star to take the stage. Andrea beckoned, her enthusiasm like a magnet drawing him in. His heart raced as he approached, but just as his nerves threatened to betray him, he saw the genuine excitement on their faces. This wasn't just a routine welcome, they were genuinely eager to meet him, said the hotel manager, extending a firm but friendly hand. Caught between disbelief and a surge of pride, Sam shook the man's hand, feeling as if he had crossed an invisible line from doubt into acceptance. "Thank you, it's great to be here," he managed, surprised at how steady his voice was. One by one, the staff stepped forward, introducing themselves with enthusiasm, sharing bits of information about who they were and what they did. The warmth radiating from them made him feel like a cherished guest in a cozy home. Andrea has shared some amazing things about you, another staff member added, her eyes sparkling. A rush of warmth surged through him. He couldn't help but grin. Had Andrea really been sharing stories about him? It felt surreal to think of himself through others' eyes, someone worthy of admiration, even if just a little. Andrea turned back to him, her expression beaming with pride. You see, Sam, feeling buoyed by the atmosphere, he took a deep breath. This was no longer just a hotel, it was a community, and he was about to step into it. Let's go inside, Andrea said, leading him past the welcoming staff who stayed in formation, still smiling as they waved him on. The entrance felt like a gateway, and as they crossed into the lobby, he was enveloped in warmth. The elegance around them swallowed him whole. Tall ceilings, plush carpets, and artfully arranged flowers filled the space, but it was the laughter he noticed the most. It rang out like music, inviting and contagious. Sam felt a strange but exhilarating combination of nerves and excitement bubbling within him. He breathed, glancing around. Andrea replied, her eyes sparkling with admiration. She took his hand, pulling him further into the lobby, and he could feel his worries unwinding, layer by layer. They arrived at a cozy seating area, decorated with large, inviting chairs and lush plants. Sam settled in, feeling the soft fabric wrap around him like an embrace. The tension that had gripped him seconds before began to melt away. Andrea turned to him, her voice shifting to a more serious tone. Tonight is about community and collaboration. We're here to brainstorm how we can engage with the neighborhood more effectively. His heart raced at her confidence in him. Could he really play a significant role in this? He asked, eager to contribute. We'll share our ideas. Everyone here has something unique to offer, she explained, gesturing to the staff members mingling nearby. A wave of panic surged through him again as he realized this was more than just a casual meeting. He was being invited to speak, to share his thoughts in front of people he just met. What if his ideas were dismissed? What if he fumbled his words? As if sensing his hesitation, Andrea leaned in closer. Remember, it's not about being perfect, it's about honesty and creativity. Her words wrapped around him like armor, and he felt the first flickers of excitement battling against his fears. This wasn't just about corporate brainstorming, it was about building something that mattered. Just then, the hotel staff gathered around them, their eyes bright with anticipation. Andrea began to introduce Sam to the team, each introduction followed by knowing smiles and supportive nods. The staff was an eclectic group of personalities, each one woven together by a common goal: to make the hotel a vital part of the community. Tonight will be all about collaboration and inspiration, Andrea announced, and the room buzzed with excitement. As conversations began to flow, Sam listened intently, feeling himself getting drawn in. Ideas shared felt vibrant and alive, and with every exchange, Sam felt a sense of belonging growing within him. Everyone was willing to share ideas, respect each other's perspectives, and explore new avenues. Asked Claire, the concierge, what if we highlighted local artists? Yes, that's an excellent idea, Sam chimed in, his confidence beginning to bubble. And we can invite art students from the local schools to contribute as well. Cheers erupted, and Sam felt warmth flooding his chest. Each idea sparked another, and soon they were all enthusiastic about brainstorming programs that directly involved the community, rather than just advertising to them. The atmosphere swelled with energy as suggestions bounced around the room like fireflies lighting up a summer evening. It felt right together, they were creating something meaningful, and for the first time, Sam felt an electric sense of purpose. As ideas surfaced, Andrea guided the conversation, allowing every voice to shine. She praised every suggestion, encouraging a culture of acceptance and trust. Sam watched with awe as she effortlessly commanded the room, her passion infectious. Time flew by, and as the meeting wrapped up, Sam felt a familiar flutter of nerves. He dared to ask Andrea quietly, still in disbelief. Absolutely, you brought something special tonight, she replied, her voice firm and genuine. Just then, one of the staff members approached with a tray of refreshments, the aroma wafting through the air. Andrea beamed, pulling Sam to his feet. They joined the group, flowing into the dining area, which glimmered with elegance. The atmosphere buzzed, laughter punctuating conversations amid a delightful array of gourmet dishes spread across the table. Sam felt his spirit lift with every cheerful exchange. It was as if every worry had been momentarily put aside, replaced by a collective sense of joy. As they settled into their seats, Sam couldn't help but marvel at the opulence around him. The table was decorated beautifully, with sparkling glassware and fine cutlery that reflected the soft glow of candles. The ambience was alive with camaraderie and inclusion, weaving together the tapestry of the evening. Throughout dinner, Sam shared snippets of his life, connecting deeper with his newfound friends. They shared stories, dreams, challenges, all of it blending together in a way that transcended his previous concerns of being an outsider. Claire said, nodding as they delved into discussions about the projects ahead. She pointed out how his perspective seemed to illuminate paths they hadn't considered before. Their conversations flowed like a stream, filled with laughter and shared ideas, and for the first time he started to believe he was a valuable part of this team. With each shared experience, each aching story of triumph and struggle, the weight of his old insecurities began to lift. "This is more than just a hotel to me," he confessed to the group, his voice steady. "It's about connection and impact." The applause that followed felt like a wave crashing over him. In that moment, he realized how far he'd come from standing outside wondering if he belonged to now being an integral part of this vibrant community. As the night continued, someone raised a glass and the cheers erupted once more. To new beginnings, the room echoed and Sam's heart swelled. He knew this wasn't just a celebration of ideas, this was a moment of transformation, a shift from uncertainty to belonging. Each person around him wasn't just a colleague, they were contributors to a dream, each voice melding with his to create something powerful. When they finally walked back outside, the city sparkled before him, stars twinkling like promises in the night sky. "You did amazing tonight, Sam," Andrea said, pride evident in her voice. "Thank you for believing in me," he replied, feeling grateful beyond words. "You just did," she said, squeezing his arm gently. In that shimmering moment, he understood something fundamental. His journey had only just begun. What had started as an uncertain evening outside a hotel transformed into a launching pad for new dreams, new connections, and an unwavering sense of belonging. As they stepped together into the vibrant energy of the city, hand in hand with possibilities, Sam felt empowered to create a life filled with purpose. No longer was he the one waiting outside. He was stepping boldly into a new chapter, ready to embrace whatever would come next. "Wait outside for just a moment, Sam," Andrea said, a confident smile playing on her lips as she pushed the heavy doors of the hotel open. The luxurious lobby inside glimmered with an elegance that looked like something out of a film. Golden chandeliers hung gracefully from the ceilings, and the chatter of well-dressed patrons floated into the night air like a warm embrace. Sam stood there, the doors closing behind her with a gentle thud, leaving him on the threshold of something that felt monumental. His heart raced. He'd never been to a place like this. He glanced down at his jeans and plain t-shirt, feeling like a mismatched puzzle piece in a world of polished edges. What was he doing here? He took a deep breath, trying to steady the whirlpool of anxiety churning in his gut. It was just a hotel, he told himself, just a place for meetings and events, but standing outside, the grandeur of it all felt paralyzing. From where he stood, he could see the bar area, the flickering light of glasses clinking, the laughter inside ringing like chimes light but overwhelming. Moments turned into what felt like an eternity as he watched the world slip by him. More guests entered, their laughter crisp and bright. Each step they took toward the entrance heightened his insecurities. What if Andrea forgot about him? No, that couldn't be, but what if? Just then the doors swung open again and Andrea stepped out, her confidence radiating like sunlight. But this time she wasn't alone. A line of hotel staff stood behind her, perfectly aligned like an army of welcome. The sight was breathtaking, a beautiful manifestation of hospitality, and it stopped Sam dead in his tracks. She called, her voice breaking through his doubts. His heart raced harder now, an unexpected cascade of emotions tumbling through him. They stood there, a line of smiles waiting for him. Were they really all here to welcome him? He took careful steps forward, but just as he was about to reach her, Andrea held up a finger. He paused, confusion rushing back in. What was she doing? Then, with a wave of her hand, she turned back to the staff, who stood expectantly, their smiles growing wider. "Everyone, this is Sam," she announced, her voice echoing with excitement. In an instant, the atmosphere shifted. Their eyes brightened, and he felt something inside him crack open like a seed breaking through soil. The hotel manager said, stepping forward with an eager handshake. Startled yet exhilarated, he shook the man's hand, feeling a surge of warmth that pushed through his earlier nerves. "Thank you," Sam blurted out, astonished by the genuine welcome that flooded over him. One by one, the staff introduced themselves, each offering heartfelt welcomes that traveled straight to his core. Here he was, being embraced by an entire team of strangers who somehow already cared about him. It felt unreal. Andrea said, and as they moved forward into the hotel, he felt the weight of uncertainty begin to lift off his shoulders. The warmth of the lobby wrapped around him like a soft blanket. The interior was a feast for the senses. The rich colors of the walls and the laughter threading through the air gave him an intoxicating high. Andrea led him to an elegant seating area, adorned with plush chairs and beautiful art pieces. Sam couldn't shake the feeling that something significant was happening. "Tonight is about making connections," Andrea explained, her voice steady and inviting. "We're going to brainstorm how we can engage more with the community." His pulse quickened. Was she really including him? This was more than just a business meeting. It was a chance to shape something together. He asked, eager to dive in. "Exactly what you're good at," she replied, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "You're about to see the spark that this team has." He took a deep breath, suddenly aware of the eyes upon him. Each member of the staff had an eager look that seemed to bubble with anticipation, waiting to see what ideas a regular guy like him would share. Andrea introduced him to the team, and the conversation began to flow, a rhythm that felt familiar yet invigorating. Sam could feel his old self peeling away like the layers of an onion. This wasn't some corporate presentation. It felt personal, raw, and real. As thoughts began to spew, he realized how much he had wanted this moment. He suggested, the words spilling out with a force he hadn't expected. Cheerful murmurs rippled through the room as people started nodding, their eyes brightening. Suggested another staff member. The conversations began to swirl, each idea sparking another, the energy electrifying. The sense of collaboration filled the air. Ideas were not just coming from him, but were being woven into a tapestry of collective creativity. They spoke about events, workshops, and outreach programs, each plan punctuated by laughter and excitement. For the first time, Sam felt like he truly belonged. He was not just contributing to a business plan, but building a community, a family. Hours drifted by unnoticed, and soon the initial meeting wrapped up into applause, laughter spilling over like a well-shaken soda. Andrea leaned closer to him, her eyes gleaming. "See, I told you." "Thanks," he replied, a mix of relief and adrenaline coursing through him. "You're just getting started," she grinned, her spirit infectious. Moments later, the staff guided him toward a beautifully set dining area, where laughter and warmth spilled from every corner. As they entered, the soft glow of candles illuminated their faces, feelings of camaraderie swirling around him like a gentle tide. Each dish that arrived at the table felt like a masterpiece, the scents intoxicating. Sam realized he was no longer the outsider looking in. He had earned a seat at this table, as proud and as human as anyone else. They shared stories, each anecdote threading them closer together, weaving a rich tapestry of shared experience. "I never expected to be part of something like this," Sam admitted, vulnerability creeping into his voice. One of the staff reached for his arm, her expression warm. "This is what we strive for here." With laughter and excitement building, they began a toast to new ideas, new friendships, and the adventures that lay ahead. The room was filled with encouragement, and for the first time, Sam felt confidence quietly solidifying within him, like roots digging deep, anchoring him to this newfound connection. But just then, the dining room doors swung open abruptly, breaking the joyous atmosphere. A tall figure stepped in, his aura commanding attention, and a sudden chill swept through the air like a dark shadow. The man called out, his voice rich yet cold. A palpable tension settled over the room, laughter fading as confusion replaced it. Sam whispered to Andrea, a knot forming in his stomach again. She looked apprehensive, her grin gone, and Sam could see the uncertainty flicker in her eyes. "I don't know," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. The man took a few steps closer, his sharp gaze scanning the gathered staff. He could feel the weight of the moment pressing in around them, the joy of the evening evaporating like mist in the morning sun. Something about the man's presence felt ominous, and Sam's heart raced. Tonight was meant to be a gathering for ideas and community, the man continued, oblivious to the unease brewing in the room. Sam's stomach dropped. The realization that their newfound plans might be hanging by a thread sent a wave of panic through him. Murmurs rippled through the crowd as people exchanged worried glances, but the man continued. "These cuts will affect funding for events and staff salaries." Every word felt like a punch to the gut, and he could see the impact it had on everyone around him. Sam's heart raced as the atmosphere shifted, and he realized that everything they had built up just moments ago was about to crumble. Andrea edged closer to him, her expression a blend of fear and determination. "We can't let it go down like this, Sam. We have to find a way to fight for what we've just started," she urged, her voice like a spark in a dark room. But how? As he looked around at the faces of the staff, he could feel a wave of despair building. They had all just connected, created a vision worth fighting for, and now it felt like the ground was collapsing beneath them. "All right," he said with newfound resolve, standing a little taller. "We won't let this happen, but would it be enough? Would they be able to turn the tide against such imposing news?" The challenge loomed large, and as the air thickened with uncertainty, Sam realized they were about to step into a fight that could define them all. And as that moment hung in the air, the fate of their dreams balanced precariously on a knife's edge. The once bright evening faded into an unforeseen night filled with struggle and determination. No one truly knew what the next step would be, but one thing was clear: they were about to embark on a journey that would change everything.